Welcome everyone to our virtual info session. This info session is to give you information about BASIS charter schools application process for the 25-26 school year, as well as give you some information about our open enrollment for upcoming school year too. We are now live, so feel free to open the Q&A function to submit your questions. Our team of school enrollment specialists are here to assist you. We are unable to answer any personal questions regarding your waitlist status or specific information about your child. You would need to contact your school of interest for detailed information on those topics. But questions about our curriculum, our school day, any of those things, you're welcome to share in this Q&A session and we will answer you. My name is Michelle Mason. I'm Associate Vice President with BASIS Charter Schools. I am a BASIS parent. I've been with BASIS for 18 years this year. My beginning with BASIS was as a Latin teacher. I taught 5th and 6th grade and then eventually 7th grade and upper school. And in that time, then as I moved into school administration, my daughter Audrey joined BASIS. With that time, we didn't have a primary, so she joined us in 5th grade and graduated from BASIS Oro Valley. And I have another daughter who goes to went to a local public high school, and she graduated from there. And then I have a son who is a BASIS student. I actually adopted him from BASIS Tucson Primary. He was a student that needed a place for a little bit, and we were lucky enough to get to keep him forever. So he is a student at who started in kindergarten and attended BASIS Tucson Primary and BASIS Tucson North, and now attends BASIS Oro Valley as a 7th grader. So I have a full range of experience as a BASIS parent, and I like to draw on that in these info sessions to give you an idea of what that might look like for your family. We are delighted in our recent rankings. We have our schools just released. Normally they're released in the spring, but they postponed it to the fall. And BASIS Tucson North is the #1 school in the country, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on. The top 10 schools in Arizona are BASIS schools, and we are the #1 public school network in the United States. We are globally competitive, meaning that our students go on to be able to compete at the same levels as students from other countries. We are also tuition-free K-12 education. So we are a public charter school, and that is something that sometimes gets missed in our coverage. So I wanted you to definitely be aware of that. We are enrolling for the current school year. There are spots still available at different campuses. You would want to visit enrollbasis.com/apply to submit your application. There's a lot of information available on the local school websites as well for tours and that ability to go into a campus, learn about that specific campus and its community and its offerings, and get a really good idea of what is going on in our schools near you. Open enrollment, though, is coming soon. It is coming November 5th through December 12th. There is the website there, enrollbasis.com/apply. You are able to subscribe to our email lists and texts. You're able to find a school near you. You're able to schedule that school tour and to start your online application. So highly recommend that you get into a campus near you to see what it's like there. I always say that the best advertisement for BASIS is talking to a BASIS student, whether it's a 1st grader or a 12th grader. You get a very good idea of what that is like to go to school there, and it's much easier to envision what that might look like for your own children. The reason to apply during open enrollment, and again, this would be for the 26-27 school year, is if you're unable to make the switch this year, even though school has already started in most of our campuses, we really want to encourage you to consider bringing your children here this year. That's because they have the opportunity to then engage with that curriculum at their current level, rather than starting in another year. But if you're unable to this year, or you have a child who will not be starting school until next year, we highly recommend applying during open enrollment. What that allows you to do, and that it takes place in Arizona, Louisiana, and Texas, is it allows you to be receiving all the information that's coming out from us about that next school year. And it also allows you to make sure that your child's application is in the lottery. If it's in the lottery, then that means that when we close open enrollment, which ends December 12th at midnight, at that point, every application that has been turned into us up until then is randomized and given a number. Then we start making our offers to those families who have submitted applications during open enrollment. So say we have 150 spots open at a given school, we assign numbers 1 through 50, are given their offers, and then the remainder of the names that are on that in the lottery are on a wait list in the order that they were assigned by the lottery. Every single student entered in the lottery is going to be ahead of someone who turns in an application starting on December 13th, the next day. So what happens then is that this is your best opportunity to secure that spot for next year. If you have any questions, you want to definitely talk to our enrollment specialist. I will also address here, because it comes up a lot, if you have siblings, once you accept a position for one child, then that means that your next child that may not have been offered a spot moves up in priority because they now have sibling preference. If you already have your child at a BASIS school, then your any incoming children would have BASIS priority as well. We very much want to keep families together, because we know that one of the major issues, of course, is if you had to go to 2 or 3 different schools, that would be, it would eventually, you'd make a decision to be at one or the other. And we want you to be at our schools, of course, with your children. Why BASIS? Our students achieve more. One of the things that happens at a BASIS school is because of the value we place on learning and being curious, and that it is a great thing to know why something is the way that it is, or how to do something in the best way. They absolutely lean into that curiosity. They learn to value different ways of thinking, or that there are many ways of thinking about one particular topic. They develop an understanding of their own capabilities. They get used to the idea of hard work, that doing something and trying is fun. It's a good thing to do. And it's not a matter of something being instantly perfect. It's a matter of working at it until you get it, until you're doing better with something. And this is excellent for primary students, the younger students, of course, because everything is a challenge, right? Learning how to cut with scissors, if you haven't done it for a while and thought about it, it's hard. As a teacher, when you sit down to teach the children how to write that first letter, to make it actually fit on the line or on the page, those are all things that they are absolutely challenged by. And so when everything in your life is new and everything is brand new, learning that it's okay to have to keep working at it for a little bit before you get good is a normal process. It's not something to be worried about. And our students learn how to have a support system and how to use a support system. So BASIS students don't just have you as their parents and maybe their grandmother or their grandfather or their aunt or their uncle. They now have, once they're attending a BASIS school, a set of teachers who are absolutely dedicated to their growth and their understanding and their development into the people that we all want them to be. So Kinder, I always love the pictures that we share for these. Kinder, of course, sparks that lifelong love of learning in a fun and nurturing environment. If you're a parent of a soon-to-be Kinder, you know the questions that they started asking when they were able to talk are only increasing in number and in depth. They want to know about everything. They want to know why. After you explain why, they want to know about that and why is that the case. And they're very much hands-on learners. In fact, they're really learning how to do everything with their hands coming into kindergarten. So not only are they learning how to use those scissors and how to write with a pen or a pencil or a marker, or how to color and mostly keep it on the paper, not so much on the desk. They're learning how their bodies work, and they're learning how their minds work. They're learning how to ask a question and to know whether or not you're getting a good answer that explains what you wanted to know. They also are the kings and queens of the unrelated answer and the unrelated question. So you might be asking them about clouds, and you might get instead a really great story about their puppy. And you think, okay, maybe it's because the cloud looks like a puppy. No, they are two entirely different trains of thought. So we're also working on focusing in on others and our conversation and our teamwork skills in kindergarten too. The way that our kinder works is we do have half day and full day programs. We definitely encourage families to consider the full day program. In the first half of the day are the required topics. So math, language, literacy, civics, history, and science are all taught prior to that half day dismissal. They also have their movement, which is their PE type class. They have their lunch and recess. There's also always a morning break in there as an actual recess. But there is a lot of movement going on in our kinder classrooms throughout the day. Definitely many opportunities to get the wiggles out or to use movement as a way to help remember our things that we're learning in our classes. We do a lot of air writing. So if you've ever watched a language class, right, where the kids use their fingers and they make with the air in their finger the shape of the letter, as well as being able to, use all of the materials. So there's a lot of movement incorporated and brain breaks incorporated into the day. If your child is able to stay for full day, which again, we highly recommend, then they have the opportunity to explore Mandarin, which is the Chinese language, engineering, visual and performing arts. At many of our campuses, those classes are taught by teachers that they will also have when they're older, although it depends on the breakdown at that particular campus, what that might look like. In addition, that's when all of our enrichment classes take place. So that is the opportunity to practice all of the skills that they learned earlier in the day. So when you think about kinder and beginning language and literacy, for example, maybe they're learning how to, they're at the point where they're learning how to write a complete sentence and they're learning about punctuation. Well, by the time you're in the afternoon, then you're in your art class or you're in your engineering class and you need to write your label. A lot of that will be practicing those skills that you learned earlier in the day. A lot of campuses also use this time to do book studies where the kids are learning and reading a book with the teacher and then exploring that and practicing those math and literacy skills while they do so. By first grade, we are now starting to see our students starting to move around a little bit more. Our kindergarten classes are self-contained, which means that if your child is in a kinder class, they're with that teacher and that supporting teacher, that kinder fellow, throughout the course of the day. And they might have other teachers who come in who teach Mandarin or art or music or drama or whatever the case may be. But they're primarily in that location. Once they go to first grade, now they're really going to explore the full BASIS model. So our first graders are starting that process. Our third graders are excellent at it. And that is where they are building those foundational skills and making connections between subjects and between content areas. What are those foundational skills? Using the communication journal. And they did also start this in kindergarten. A communication journal is a planner We order them specially for BASIS, and if you are using the one that we order, it's great because it has the format is set up to match what we're doing in our classrooms, meaning the names of the different classes the students are taking. That CJ, or communication journal, is where they're learning how to organize their information from class and how to track it themselves. I will say it has been one of my great joys in life is watching my son. So his communication journal, um, in kindergarten, prior to me getting him, he never had it. So we are not sure where it went. So his teacher just kept one for him in class. And then starting in first grade, and when he came home with me, it was also prior to COVID. So he kind of lost some of the chance to use the CJ. But his big sister, who had graduated from BASIS and was graduating from BASIS that year, she knew all about it. So he at least had exposure to it. I would say then from like second grade through the beginning of fourth grade, he was very resistant to writing anything down that needed writing down. He was going to remember it all. I don't know where he got all this confidence from because he remembered next to nothing, as far as I could tell. But he was sure he didn't need it. So we did a lot of work on the CJ. This is the first year now that he's in seventh grade, and we are about 3 weeks in to the school year, 4 weeks actually. His CJ is brilliant. He came home and told me that the teacher said he had excellent handwriting. I don't know where the excellent handwriting came from, but we're having kind of one of those moments where all of the work and the effort is really paying off. And the goal is, as they get older, they're managing their own homework. They're managing their own expectations. They're managing their own study time. As a parent, that CJ allows you to look at it, ask those questions, make sure that the work is happening. As my husband always says, trust but verify. Make sure, of course, we believe you, but let's just make sure. Let's see when the date is. Make sure you have the plan in place that's going to help you be successful in finishing those things. And that is a big piece, of course, with time management. Is the time you think you need actually appropriate for how much time you need in order to be successful? We could use some of this in our morning routine, of course, right? For some reason, if we have 5 minutes before we have to get in the car, my son thinks that means that in 5 minutes, that is when I will get up off the couch and stop petting the dogs and go find my shoes. And then he's shocked when it's 10 minutes later and we still haven't left. So it is a challenge with all human beings to learn how to do this. And that's part of what we do here at school. They are strengthening and developing their critical thinking skills and their problem solving skills, and they are learning how to work with each other. And all of those things are skills that take time to develop and to work on, especially as you as a child are building all of the content that you need in order to be successful. So by fourth and fifth grade, we are really working on mastering those success skills, both attention to detail, study skills, managing your materials and not losing them, all of those things, as well as deepening their content knowledge. Right. The first few years of school, you're doing so much work as a kinder or first grader to learn how to write both your letters and your numbers. You're learning how to do your basic calculations. If you think about that and you think about what that means to be back at the beginning of life, a big part of being successful in addition, for example, is lining your numbers up. And it's very easy to not line them up correctly and end up with a wrong answer. And that matters if you're trying to figure out how much you need to pay for something or what your total bill is going to be at the end of a shopping trip. They're working on those skills. So there's a ton going in first and second grade, or kinder through first grade. Second and third grade, you're learning how to use those skills, how to do more complicated things with them, like read entire sentences and paragraphs, how to write a paragraph, what needs to be included in a paragraph, how to read a paragraph and have questions about it to understand it well enough that you can be curious about it. Fourth and fifth grade, we're just deepening that content knowledge. And it is impressive the amount of information that the kids absorb like sponges. I remember specifically my son in fourth grade, history was one of his favorite classes. And it went back and forth between history and science because he definitely likes to know how everything in the world works and why it does and what already happened. And then he definitely loves hypothetical history, which is okay, well, it happened like this, but what if, all right, we change that one thing, then what would have happened? And so, so much of that is that curiosity, but building it on information that is going to be there to serve them as they develop those critical thinking skills. 6 through 8, we just keep going. We are, again, mastering that deep content knowledge. My story here is my kids this past weekend. We live here in the Tucson desert, and so my son was supposed to be watering the poor plants that I'm trying to keep alive in my yard because it's been a hot summer. And my daughter was sitting out there doing some of her schoolwork at the university, and you look over, I'm like, what is he doing? And he's over there and he's patting the saguaro cactus. I'm like, Adonis, why are you touching the cactus? Get back to your chore. And he's like, I'm checking its cam out. And I was like, what? He's like, cam, it's their special photosynthesis. And my daughter, which I did not know, and my daughter who does know these things, she's like, oh yes. And it has to do with the way that they practice their photosynthesis and they close up their stomata different times of the day when it's really hot so they don't lose moisture. And they're having this back and forth. I'm Googling it on my phone to see if they're right, and they are right. And then I asked him, then it dawns on me, I'm like, wait, what class did you learn this in? And he goes, oh, in writing mastery. I was like, okay, not biology or chemistry. No, it's in writing mastery. So even our skills that we're focusing on to help them be better writers are also providing a tremendous resource in terms of what they're learning about. And absolutely, I'm sure that was a non-intentional bit of education that was happening. But because it's something that he was already interested in, which is plants and biology, he really locked onto that. And that just proves how relevant everything is that integrates into our curriculum. They will start in 6th grade taking the sciences in more depth. So instead of having a general science class like they have had in 4th grade and 5th grade, they're going to have biology and chemistry 5 days a week. Moving on, they will also have physics 5 days a week. And so by the time they finish 8th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they will have developed a very strong foundation in the sciences. In addition, they are developing and growing in their language arts skills. So they are in English class, they're studying grammar, writing, and literature. So by the time they combine that with their history and their social sciences, they are ready to start high school with a very, very firm base. We are an accelerated curriculum, which means since we started accelerating it in 1st grade, that by the time they are in 8th grade, they are finishing up with the equivalent of Algebra 2. That's because that's where our students need to be in order to learn the math content that they need to be successful in high school and be ready for college. So we don't accelerate our curriculum just for the sake of accelerating it. We accelerate it by reverse engineering it from what they need from college. And that is why our students are competitive on an international level, is we aren't starting from what do all the other schools do in 1st grade or 2nd grade, but we've worked backwards. Where do I need them to be by 9th grade? That means I need them to be at this spot by 6th grade. That means by 3rd grade, I need them here, and working our way down. This also allows numerous opportunities for families who are new to BASIS to join us throughout that middle school and elementary level so that their children have the chance to be exposed to that content and be ready for the high school program. We have what we call a spiraling curriculum. That means that key important topics are revisited year after year, but in more depth. chemistry is a perfect example, right? They're learning the foundational elements of chemistry in fourth grade and fifth grade. Actually, all of our classes are named after elements on the periodic table. So rather than being like first grade blue group or first grade green group, they're in beryllium or in lithium. And so all the kids learn their element. They might only have one element on the periodic table in kindergarten that they know the name of, but they pick up the rest rather quickly. And so by the time they've had fourth and fifth grade science, they are in chemistry in sixth grade and seventh grade and eighth grade. I myself, as a college graduate, I remember enough chemistry, and I've now been through enough of my kids through BASIS. I can make it to about seventh grade chemistry before I'm like, okay, I'm done. It's time for you to go talk to your teacher. Usually it's been time to talk to your teacher long before that. And we'll talk about those opportunities to talk to the teacher. But it's getting more and more in depth. So by the time with chemistry, then they're in high school, they will be taking honors chemistry and eventually have the opportunity to take AP chemistry and to take capstone courses after they finish the AP level. And AP preparatory, is the Advanced Placement College Board curriculum, meaning that the College Board has signed off on the syllabus for those classes, that those students are then able to take an advanced placement or AP exam at the end of that year. And if they have a high enough score on it, they're able to receive college credit at most in-state colleges. They are also, for the highly selective colleges that don't necessarily give you that credit, it is a key indicator that that student is ready to be successful at their university. So it either helps you to get in, or it helps you to get in and then also gives you some credit. A lot of our students, by the time they start the university, they will easily have a year or year and a half to 2 years worth of college credit already under their belt. And that allows them to do things like spend fewer years in college for their bachelor's degree and then go on to advanced degrees, or to do fun things like be a double major in physics and in musical theater, which is one of my favorite combinations of one of my students. So she stayed at college for full 4 years, but got 2 completely unrelated degrees out of it. And I was super proud of her and found it hilarious. So that's the kind of thing that the BASIS can give our students. Starting in high school, 8th grade, really, in high school, that's when they will select their world language that they will study throughout high school. Again, that's very focused on the requirements for colleges. We have a very strong intentional academic support model. All of our students who are going to BASIS, they're going to need help at some point. Some of them might need help many times throughout the years they're at BASIS, and that's okay. The goal is not for it to be easy and for a student to breeze through this with no effort. It's designed to help them find that discomfort level at a younger age when they have the full support of you as their parents and us as their school administrators and their teachers to help them learn how to struggle, learn how to learn something that is difficult for them. And it also supports the students through the things that they have no control over, right? Like having strep throat for the 3rd time in the year, having illness where they might miss school. All those are times when that academic support program is very, very useful because it helps them get caught back up. Many of our schools also have excellent peer tutoring programs because while we are internationally competitive, we really like to foster a collaborative spirit within our schools. We don't want them being super competitive with each other. And peer tutoring is a great way for the students to focus on sharing their skill set back with the rest of the students. And so we definitely come from a mentality that we're here to support each other, and for our grade level to be successful, that means we all have to pitch in. We also end up, because we're combined campuses, so our 5th through 12th graders are often in the same building, we get some really great situations in which ninth graders are helping the sixth graders study for their comps. They do peer tutoring, but they also do just a lot of generalized support, right? Like writing them all positive Post-its to put on their lockers when we're headed into those testing scenarios. I particularly love the peer tutoring when some of my more wily children, I should say, got into peer tutoring, and then they would come and they would tell me, though, Miss Mason, do you know how hard it is to teach sixth graders? I would say, yes. Remember how difficult you were as a sixth grader? And they're like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I really should have just stopped. um, and they get a chance to see what that's like and to be able to pass on that knowledge to the younger students, and it makes for a really great school community. And as I mentioned, 9th through 12th grade, that's when we're maximizing that college readiness. So they get a tremendous amount of individualized guidance. BASIS does pay for their AP exams when it is recommended by the school. All of the students are required to sit 6 AP exams in order to graduate. They do have to pass one of those at a 3 or higher to graduate with a BASIS diploma. And as a parent, that means that you are saving close to, well, it's 150 per class. So close to $1,000 of those testing fees that you would pay for anyways. And then that's college credit. If they have a 4 or 5, that's college credit that you don't have to pay for again when they go to college. The next point is really something that sets us apart. That is our dedicated college counselors. The ratio of college counselors to students is very, very favorable at BASIS. In most high schools, large high schools, you might have 1 to a couple of hundred students. And of course, in those situations, the expectation is not that all those students are going to be prepared for college. Whereas our college counselors, we typically have about 2 college counselors for about 60 kids, and additional staff that helps support that. Their senior year, they will take college counseling as a course. So they will be working on their applications, their essays, on how to ask teachers for letters of recommendation in ways that are respectful, how to choose the teachers that know you the best for skill set that that particular university might be interested in, or the angle you want to take with that application. So it's very, very intentional. I will say that our teachers at BASIS write the best letters of recommendations in the country. And that is because we know those students. We've known them in some cases since 6th grade. In some cases, they taught them in 6th grade and then taught them again in AP. So there's a great deal of relationship. And for us as adults, getting to see those kids grow so much from middle school through high school and knowing what they're interested in and who they are as people allows us to write very targeted letters of recommendation to the universities that they want to go to. They also have an opportunity for senior project. So their senior year, they will take the first trimesters, they will take capstone courses. And part of that is to prepare them should they wish to develop and then complete a senior project. The senior projects are presented to the community at the end of the year. There's also scholarship opportunity at each campus for the senior project that has been the most impressive of that year. And it's a chance to develop, again, their repertoire for those college applications and to engage in their own research opportunities. And then this is the part where I get to brag again a little bit more. We have 11 high schools ranked in the top 100 in the country. And of course, BASIS Tucson North ranked #1 by the US News and World Report. Last year, the #1 high school in the country was BASIS Peoria. And we have had schools, BASIS Oro Valley has been in #1, Chandler has been #1, as well as a Blue Ribbon school. So we typically do perform extremely well on these rankings. So well, in fact, that the US News and World Report periodically restructures how they are evaluating the data. What this means is that not necessarily as much as we like to be proud of it, and we have a lot of internal rivalry, it is based on very specific data from a very specific year. So this year's ranking was based on 22-23, I believe. And it's so nuanced. If you think back to the Olympics, like really high profile swimming races, right? The difference between first and fifth is not even a full second. It is like that. It can change whether or not you come in first or ninth can change based on the number of students in your senior year, for example. But what it does allow us to do is understand that our students are competitive, that we are doing our job by preparing our students for the world, and that the rest of the world is recognizing that, hey, the students that are coming out of here are absolutely worth our time and our investment. So we want them. So again, even though we have the rivalry internally as to which BASIS school gets to have the highest ranking, and I imagine we will continue to do so for forever, it's actually one of those situations where every BASIS school that is whose students are applying to colleges, these rankings really help us explain to the schools and make the case to the schools that you want our students. And ideally, you want our students and you want to offer them a great deal of scholarships and support in order to get them at your campus. So our highly selective schools very much are interested in BASIS students. They come and visit our campuses and recruit our students specifically, as do our state schools. State schools, BASIS students do extremely well in terms of the scholarship opportunities that are provided. And it is, I will say, even common for a BASIS graduate to have full ride scholarships to our state schools for sure, as well as excellent offers from more selective schools throughout the country. So why are our kids so great? Well, by the time they leave us, they are academically driven. So they've bought into the concept that having demonstrating success through your scores and your academics means something. And it means something because it means you're going to have more opportunities at other areas where you might want to pursue your education. So if you want to go ahead and be a doctor, or you want to go ahead and be an engineer, or you want to do these things in life, you've demonstrated that you have the skill set that makes those universities or those special academies interested in training you. And that is really important in today's culture where a lot of students might want to do those things, but they may not have even taken Algebra 1 in high school. So the line between what they want and where they are is such a huge gap. For BASIS students, that gap is extremely narrow. Our goal is that every student who graduates from BASIS is able to go in whatever direction they want to for their lives, whether they want to go ahead and write a novel and get published within a year, if they want to go to the Naval Academy, if they want to go to an Ivy school, or if they want to go to a veterinary program. All of those things are options for all of our students. You do not have to be the math student to be accepted into any of those things. You do not have to be the literature student to be accepted. All of our students have extremely strong core skills in all areas. They're critical thinkers. They are well-rounded. They are prepared to be successful. And the thing that I'm always enjoy the most is they are absolutely lifelong learners. They will still email their teachers and their admin years later and be like, oh, look where I am. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember, but you talked about Pompeii in 6th grade history. And I wanted to send you a picture because here I am. Oh, and here's what I just discovered, or here's what the tour guide just told me, or here's what I read. And then the best part is none of those kids are even close to being in the field of archaeology. They're all doing different things with their lives, but they're maintaining that interest in all of the other topics that they learned about while they were at BASIS. And we have a really fabulous time while we're working with your students. The kiddos definitely have recesses and brain breaks, which I mentioned. I had the great honor of substitute teaching indoor kinder recess one time, which was indoor because it was raining really badly outside. And of course, it starts off with a couple of kids crying because they didn't get to go to recess. Instead, they had recess with Miss Mason, and they were only dimly aware of who I was in the grand scheme of things because they're kinders. And we did dance party. I will have you know that that was a reach for me. But we did dance party. We got everyone to stop crying. We made it through. And then for the rest of that particular semester, every time I saw that group of kiddos in the hallway, they would remember me as the dance party lady. So that's just to show, especially when giving tours, and the parents are like, so why are you the dance party lady? Like, oh, well, one time we did this recess. So they have a great time and we encourage them to have a great time. Our physical education classes are likewise fantastic. It's helping them develop their physical skills, teamwork, goal setting, trying things over time and taking time to get good at them are all things that you learn in PE. And absolutely cannot be overstated how important that is for our young students. We have many different holiday and cultural events. We have very diverse communities at our schools. And so, depending on the makeup of your local school, there's going to be a lot of focus on things that are of interest, but we're always interested in more. Many of our cultural activities, extracurriculars, and student clubs, those are driven by student interest. So, for example, one year at Ora Valley, we developed a movie and film club because one of our students who was older felt that it was ridiculous that the kinders didn't know about the classics of film. So they wanted to make sure that the fifth graders had the opportunity for this. Our student talked one of the teachers into being the adult guide for it. And then we made it happen. And it eventually morphed into her teaching stop gap animation to fifth graders. So they did little movies using Sculpey clay for their characters. And it was fantastic. School dances, we have prom, we have homecoming, we have a full range of student performances at all grade levels. We do offer art, music, and theater. I will like to give a shout out for all of those fine arts. Often people, when they're bringing their students to BASIS, do not realize what a fantastic fine arts education their children are going to have. If you've been lucky enough to have your kids at BASIS, you also are the type of parent who's never actually seen a terrible student performance. But if you have nieces or nephews in other schools, then I'm sure you've had the same experience I do, which is you go and you're expecting something, right? You're expecting something that looks like something familiar to what you've seen at a BASIS performance. And then you're sort of tragically exposed to a a theater performance, for example, where the school did not have um, was not able to pay copyright fees or usage fees, so they weren't able. They're basically writing their own plays, which is great when you're older and you're really developing your sense of theater and it's part of curriculum. It's not very good when it's some third graders. It's very confusing and involves references to memes that we don't understand. So be aware, your kids will get a fabulous fine arts curriculum here. We have sports as well. All of our middle schools and high schools do compete in leagues with other schools that are our size in different sports. And we have lots of spirit weeks. For example, tomorrow I'm headed to Basis Goodyear, and we are having a secret spirit week. So that's where the staff have a spirit week and they don't tell the kids, and then the kids have to guess what it is. So I have to go find my rock band t-shirts to break out for tomorrow. But lots of fun activities throughout the week, fun events for the students, different carnivals as well. So how is your child going to be supported? They are going to have the opportunity to go to before and after school care. We call before school care early bird, and that means that after school care is called late bird. We will have a great deal of communication from our teachers to you as parents and really encourage that level of communication from you back to the teacher and to the school, both through communication journal, the planner I told you about, as well as through messaging and email. We do have booster clubs for parent involvement. A great deal of the support for our schools comes from our booster clubs, and that is the primary way that parents are able to support their students. We have weekly student office hours. We call them student hours for additional support, and that starts in first grade. When they're little, we're making the requests because maybe we identify that we would like to spend an extra 20 or 30 minutes with your child to work on particular phonics skills, for example. As they get older, we're really developing them into students who come to seek out student hours on their own. And so instead of being asked or mandated by mom or by the teacher to go to student hours for that support, they're starting to seek it out themselves. Although I will say one of my all-time favorite parents had a custom t-shirt made for her child that said, "I'm going to student hours today. Ask me why I'm not in there." So that when he wore that, we knew we were supposed to make sure that he got to student hours instead of regular parent pickup. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to develop that skill set of searching out support on their own. And then Parent Square is the platform that we use for school-wide communication. It allows us to do posts, to send out all school notice like reminder, Monday is Labor Day, no school, to actually communicating through messaging, much like email, which allows you to have a quick back and forth with your child's teachers. So next steps, there's QR code there for you to scan to apply for the 25-26 school year. Definitely recommend you bringing your children to BASIS now. It is not too late in the school year. And also, if next year is what you are looking for, that also allows for your open enrollment applications for the 26-27. Reminder that open enrollment opens on November 5th and continues until December. And we want to make sure that if you're interested in that next year, that you're getting that completed and in during open enrollment. As you have questions, please reach out to us. You can do it in the Q&A now, or you can reach out to contact your BASIS near you directly. Your BASIS registrar is the person who is the most up to date on the application process and how that works at the campus that you're interested in. So very much make sure that you get in there and you schedule a tour. This particular picture I get a kick out of. This one is at BASIS Mesa here in the picture. And the reason I like that is our head of school at that campus, their color is green. So he always would wear green for his school tours. And you might notice that his shoes match his shirts. That is not to be expected by every BASIS head of school. But we do really enjoy our tours and bringing you into our campuses and showing off our students and meeting our next group of students. So thank you so much for your interest in BASIS. We very much want you to look into us, and we are ready for you to ask any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at BASIS Charter Schools.